All right, Shelley, can you hear us on the Zoom?
Yep,
Andrew?
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, it's 5:31. We'll go ahead and start tonight's meeting. Friendly reminder, please turn off all cell phones except for emergency personnel. Michelle, can you take roll call?
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
President Giordani,
Yes.
Member Carrera,
Yes.
Member Leahy,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yep.
Member Shea,
Yes.
Member Ovina.
Yes.
Finding that the regular meeting notice and agenda were posted in accordance with Idaho Code 74-204 within 48 hours prior to the meeting at the City of Bellevue City Hall, Post Office, and on the city's website, and emailed to the Idaho Mountain Express on March 7th, 2024.
I move that the notice for the March 11th, 2024 regular meeting was completed in accordance with Idaho Code section 74-204.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Call for conflict is outlined in code 7444. Anybody have conflicts with tonight's agenda?
No.
All right. At this time, I'll go ahead and open up public comment for items of concern not on the agenda. Is there any public comment on Zoom? And seeing none here in City Hall. Just a reminder, with the snow melt and the warm up and the more snow coming in off and on, our ground is pretty saturated. We are trying to do the best to stay on top of any flooding concerns, but it's just a weird winter. You're gonna have to work with us. We're gonna do our best to help prevent anything, but we don't have much place for the water to run off to, and it's not gonna saturate in the ground since it's waterlogged as it is. So just be mindful, keep us aware if we have any instances. We'll try to get out to your place or to your neighborhoods and evaluate and see what they can do. We do have some sandbags available right now. If it gets to a point where we see more flooding coming in, we'll get some more ordered. So other than that, I will close public comment. Consent agenda. Questions about the consent agenda? Start with claims. Anything on the claims?
We had last talked about the contaminated recycling, just gonna check back in with that.
I sent over a document, but I didn't follow up with you guys about, it was a PDF, I just sent it to Chris, Mayor Johnson and President Giordani. Did we want to move forward on that, or should I just re-forward it and you want to see the document as well?
Sure.
Great.
I mean, I saw it as an attachment, but I understand it being an attachment in the bills, but I think it's a great social post as well. So we want to recirculate it. Maybe just have a quick chat about adding that to the bills, but also a social post, I think might be a little bit more effective as well, because it would be a bit of a more of a landing page, but up to you guys.
I think, yeah, we can get more education out there, but I don't think the education is the problem since it's posted right on the bins themselves, but we'll try it a little longer, but it is my intent if it continues. I'm not spending the extra money that we don't need to be spending on.
Should I put it in the post office as well, possibly, or maybe the library and
So whatever it is.
Yeah, I would say
I can, yeah,
all of the resources. So why
okay,
don't we just put it on our desks to get that done before the next meeting,
okay,
and we can collaborate on it and then find all the places in which we can post it or send it out.
great.
Anything else on the claims?
So.
Well, I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Um, Is there anything else on any of the funds?
Oh, I'm
findings?
sorry. I
Or
thought we were ready to roll.
people are still just going over the notes on claims real quick.
The ones that stood out for me were the ICRIM policies, but it looks like it's just that time of year.
The biannual payments on this.
Yeah,
And I was curious, under P and Z, there was contract labor for, under Carl Malone Ford.
I believe that's still working with David Patry and
Okay.
Benchmark.
Okay.
And just trying to get the odds and ends tied up with that. I think they're getting pretty close to have everything finalized. I'll probably be giving Aaron a call today or tomorrow or sometime this week and kind of going over him as the architect on a couple things, so.
That was a little weird because it was to Carl Malone. I think that was why I was confused on that too.
So we paid two?
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe two.
Can I pipe in here?
Go ahead, Sean.
Shelley,
As that is a bill that's specific to Carl Malone, I would forward that on to their people for reimbursement. But since they just got hit with everything else I sent them, I'm kind of waiting on the current ones a little bit.
but that will be sent off for reimbursement.
Correct.
Any questions on the funds or approval of findings of fact for both mountain rides and for Breakers of the Wind?
The fire department one. So just in here, you said something about, I know you said you budgeted for it, chief, and fire truck broke down. We just explained we can use the bottles from our old kits and replace them next few years. We just clarify for somebody, layman's terms for me for that.
So basically, we have two root kits now, they're for our old SCBA's, they're universal. One of them broke. So they're basically 2 in, 2 out, 2 firefighters go in. One of them has a problem, another crew goes in to rescue them. And it's a kit that has a 60-minute air bottle with a mask, some fittings, universal fittings to other air packs. And we replaced the air packs a few years ago, so these will match those for ourselves and universal for the county, but our air bottles are still in code for probably another 5 years. So, that's the only, with the air bottles are probably about as much as the kit itself. So, yeah, and it'll have our mask, so if it doesn't work, we can take their mask off, put ours on, that type of deal. But they're 15, 16 years old and starting to fail. The pieces, instead of repairing what we have and still not being the exact match of the brand that we have, so.
Makes sense. I like that they'll be universal.
Yeah.
Term that.
Yeah.
To switch
Well,
around,
and
so that's
that
great.
was in 2002, they made all SCBA's, our breathing apparatus, have a universal plug that you can plug them in. Not to say that some, like Richfield or Cary or some other departments may not have that, so that's why we have the math
Mhm.
in there too, that we can do that, so.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions on the consent agenda?
Float that motion one more time. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
President O'Donnell,
yes.
Member Calero,
Yes.
member Leahy,
Yes.
member Shea,
Yes.
member Mahoney,
Yep.
and member Ovina.
Yes.
Very much. Start off with a presentation from Civics Plus. Is Jordan on?
Sam.
Hi, good evening.
There you
There
are.
you
Can you
are.
see me?
Hi, Jordan. Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you very much. With your permission, I would like to give a high-level presentation about a proposal I have prepared. I was given a window of about 10 to 15 minutes to cover everything. And I'd like to get started, and then I'll leave some time for questions, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. First thing first, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. A while ago, I prepared a proposal for Michelle about potentially updating the city's website. Short background on Civic Plus is we are the #1 provider of government websites. We're the most widely selected. We have nearly 5,000 municipal website customers across the country, ranging from towns of just a few people to some of the largest counties in the United States. We focus on making sure that we're going to provide a platform so you can be transparent with the public, with your constituents. We are also in a position to offer growth paths in technology. Besides just websites, we do a lot of other services that are fully integrated with the other, so you can have plug-and-play solutions. As your needs grow, we can be a long-term partner for our customers. Specifically talking about websites, we focus on making sure that the website is going to be easy to use, and this is specifically for citizens. Easy to use, great navigation. It's going to have a mobile-first type of design philosophy. Staff, we're going to be able to empower staff to easily and quickly post content, news, build forms, send out notifications. And the overlap here is stuff that both staff and citizens want. The ability to have easily updated, frequently asked questions, subscribe to alerts. But the ultimate idea is that we want to focus on transparency, and we want to be in the background as a technology partner for all of our customers. Besides just hosting the website, maintaining the technology, we are also going to be there for tech support, for updates, for any types of how-tos or tips and tricks, things like that, best practices about how to present content. We're also staying on the cutting edge with things like ADA compliance. This is a big thing in a lot of states where websites should be accessible, not just to people who are on phones or laptops or computers, but also people that use assistive technologies, such as screen readers or braille readers. And we'll stay on top of that as well. If you'll allow us, I'm going to show you a few examples of some customers that we have built websites for. Out of a portfolio of nearly 5,000, I've just selected a handful that I think are applicable to what I have proposed. But a general project timeline from contract signing to go live can range anywhere from 20 to 36 weeks. I would say on a project that I have proposed, 20 is more likely. And that's from building the site, populating content, and training staff on how to update content. Okay. Any questions so far? If not, I have some example sites that I put together. Okay. If not, and if you allow us, I did see that the proposal that I prepared is on the agenda packet. So our goal is to get you from your current website to something like this. We want to make sure that the website is not just going to be great looking, but it's going to be easy to navigate and easy for staff to post content. We focus on transparency in a number of different ways, and I'm going to just show you a few highlights, okay? One of them is to use mega menus that give multiple pathways to single destination pieces of content. It's clear navigation, it's easy to follow for people that are web savvy and for people who aren't so web savvy, and also whether or not they're seeing it on a computer or a phone. We're trying to make that as easy as possible to navigate. As an example, we're going to jump over here to Kenai, Alaska. This is an example of a site that we've done. And this is really highlights the ease of understanding how navigation works. So for example, if somebody comes to this website and they want to see the latest meetings, well, obviously that's a good place to put one of the key links. And the idea of these key links here on all of our websites are for things like the most commonly viewed pages. So for example, click in meetings, and you can see here the full meetings directory of all the boards and committees across the city. But say somebody missed that. Say they were digging into the menu, for example. Well, they could go to City of Kenai and see City Council, and they can see here, there's also a link here to agendas and minutes. In fact, this is an intelligent link, so this will pre-sort it just to City Council, and they can find it that way. Or they could go, how do I see upcoming events and meetings? And here is a link here, and you'll see here, in fact, there is a link back here to the agendas and minutes, and it will always link back to the meetings directory. So the idea is that we can help build websites that are easy to navigate and give people multiple choices, but single destinations. So they're always going to lead back to where they're going to look for information. This is a different type of philosophy from older style of website layouts where there were single paths. If you get lost on the path to those destinations, you couldn't find what you were looking for. We can put our experience to work for you. We have done this thousands of times, and we have a library of best practices about the best way to lay out websites. Besides that, we're also going to make sure that we can focus on transparency for the greatest number of people, for all your citizens and residents. Not only do we have easy navigation, but we have quick and easy integrations with other things, such as Google Translate. You can take the whole website and translate it, for example, into Spanish, for example. And then you can ultimately see everything right here. It has completely switched over into Spanish, or a number of other languages that we can integrate with Google Translate. All the websites that we build are going to have a forms center in addition to the meetings directory. It'll have a form center where you can post all the forms that you want to put online. We even can have them sorted between PDF forms that you can download, or we can have online forms. All the websites that we build will have the ability to have fillable online forms, and there's a form builder. So users like staff, like Michelle, for example, could build additional forms that this could be used for other things. And they can be as basic as a contact us form that'll say, for example, here's who to contact for these different things. And if you want to let the city know, fill out a form. This can be routed to the correct department, for example. Or they can be as complex as perhaps like an employment application. And somebody could fill out the application directly on the website, submit it to the website, and this can be, again, routed to whoever you need it to be sent to. All the websites that we build are going to have, let's see here, I think I lost Zoom for just a second. Can you see my screen still?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All the websites that we build are also going to have a directory where people can sign up for notifications. This will allow citizens to come to categories that the city defines. We will help define these categories, and you can change them or add to them as needed, where anybody can sign up for alerts and notifications or agenda and minute postings. All this is included in every website we build, and you can have unlimited categories, unlimited subscribers via email. In the proposal, we also have the technical ability to turn these into text message alerts. There is an additional cost in that is on the cost proposal, but we could also send these out as text alerts in addition to email. And finally, the idea is that we want to take websites and turn it into not just a static page, but a two-way communication portal between city staff and residents. So it's easy to view whether you're on a phone or a laptop, but we want to meet you where you're at and help you meet your citizens where you're at. Our tagline, our whole mission is to power and empower local governments, and we want to make sure that we're going to be able to provide all these tools. So that's a high-level overview. I want to be very respectful of time. I know you have a large meeting ahead of you, but I wanted to see if that covered everything or if there were any questions that I could address.
I did have a question. If I could just, I
Absolutely.
can't quite see your face, but I'll just talk to the screen.
Oh, no, here, let me turn my video back on. turned off
It's
my
okay.
camera for screen sharing. Yes.
There we are. Okay. Is there, I didn't see it in here and I apologize if I missed it. Is there integration with email communications? So thinking of things like, you know, MailChimp that's existed before, just kind of like email communications where we could send newsletters and the collection data from the subscription sign up, can that be populated to then do external communications with our citizens? And is that functionality within the website already?
It is. So this notification portal that I was demonstrating earlier, people can sign up for their notifications, or theoretically, if you already have a list of emails that you want to have imported into this, we can do that. Although we would recommend having people do a net new sign up. They don't necessarily want to be moved over into a notification that they weren't aware that they had signed up for.
Okay.
Whereas if this is a self-service, they know that they signed up for it.
So under that My Subscription section, one of the categories could be something about like updates or messages from the mayor or something like that. Okay.
That is 100% correct. That is 100% correct.
Wonderful.
That said,
thank you.
We do have a bit of functionality in the website that's already designed to do some of this. Now, it would not necessarily be appropriate for as robust as a monthly newsletter. But so, for example, you could take a page. In this case, I pre-populated some content for this demo. Perhaps an event that's coming up, like Metropolis Days. This is just a demo event. Staff could go in and take this page and also push it into a couple of other things, such as like a calendar, or the website includes a news feed. So let's say I want to make this news and also push this into the calendar. I click news and event. This is just asking, when is this event happening? Well, let's say it's this upcoming weekend, it's an all-day event. That's automatically going to put it into the website's calendar. Let's say we also want to make this a news event. Well, when do you want this to go live? Let's go live today, and let's even make this a full announcement. Make that announcement go live for, let's just say, go live for a week. I didn't change any content. I was able to take an existing page that I was able to quickly and easily create, but also push it into a lot of things that exist on the website, for example. So, for example, say this now lives as part of the city's news feed. And this is intrinsic. This is built into the website. All of the websites that we build will have a subscribable news feed. You can see that it's here in the news feed. Not only that, in fact, I'll just go back to the home page, and without taking any more staff time than has to, I was able to push this into the news feed as here, Metropolis Days right here. I was able to push this into the calendar, which is subscribable. I was able to turn on an announcement bar, which is subscribable. All of these are links, and it all links back to that original page. So it's very transparent as a way to create content, push it across all the different parts of the website, and I was able to do it in just a few clicks. You can even then push this out to your, you could even push this out to your social media, for example.
Okay.
So you could create a bit of news, update the calendar, update the news feed, update everybody who had subscribed to those categories. And here's our subscription integration right here. Push this out to your subscribers and even post it to social media, all from the same place.
Well, I think this really explains how it can solve our community transparency issues, right? And communication issues, and also looking at this versus the behind the scenes of, even just helping Michelle with something once, and how user-friendly this is on the back end for staff. And I did notice that there's training involved with the onboarding of this as well. So I really appreciate you bringing this to us and
I've worked
this
with them in
presentation.
Utah. They're
Okay,
great.
wonderful.
They're great sites.
Yeah, and it's beautiful and easy to use, and I think, we'll solve communication problems that we've been having and increase our transparency with our constituents. So I really like it.
One note about training is we're going to make sure that staff is comfortable using this tool, but also we're just a click away, whether it's just a refresh of training resources. We do, in fact, offer ongoing training that's free or that's included in the service fee, where staff can sign up. This is perfect for refresher training or staff turnover, or maybe getting staff up to speed. Somebody else is going to take over a little piece of their own website. And we, in fact, also now have Zendesk integration, which means we can have staff chat directly with tech support right from the backside of the application as well. So right, very easy to get a hold of us.
I do have a follow-up question, Jordan. In terms of the branding, are we coming to the table with a branding kit, or is that part of your services in terms of like colors, fonts, anything like that? Is that an add-on? Is it included? Or what are we bringing to the table for you?
It is included when we're setting up the website. If with a premium design, this is going to be off-the-shelf layout, but we will have, you'll be able to select your colors, your fonts, and we will build the website to your specifications. With an ultimate design, we even have more flexibility, but we are doing that for you. And the city legally will own all content and all design.
Does that include the logo as well, Jordan? As if we wanted to update our logo or current?
We have done some limited logo design. Generally speaking, though, that is contracted out with like a third party. Because I would say that we can match your logo and branding, and we can do a little bit of a design, but usually there's already like a branding style guide that we want to match rather than create a net new one, because we don't do things like letterheads and, you know, font, that kind of stuff.
I think depending on the timeline, it would be worth investigating just a quick logo rebrand and just price it out and see what the option is. And then that way we could get some sort of a style guide versus, yeah, we could activate and do it later, but it could be worth just saying, if there's anybody in the local community or somebody within our networks that we could work with for a simple logo rebrand. That way, when we're pushing all this out, the style's there, the brand's there, the font's there, that whole refresh happens. But
Mayor Johnson, did we recently update a font type for emails or the font that we're using? Because I noticed, like, for example, in certain emails, some people are using different font types. So that would be consistent, I think, in that style.
Whatever people have as their default.
yeah, I don't think that exists at this time. I think there's an opportunity, depending if that's how in the weeds we want to get with that. But I think just
yeah,
you know, high level communication to start would be good.
Yeah.
I just put we just put logos on the truck, so we got the brand started.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna stick with that.
But I mean, let's not get too crazy with it. I mean, if we do need to make some modifications, and you know, a thing I thought passed with the conservation district was send it to the schools, and maybe the high school, there's the tech team can come up with somebody there that has an interest in it. It could be part of their senior project or something. I don't know. But
maybe I hear you, because we just put sticker, you know, we just branded some things. So
yeah,
sticking with the current logo, and this would hopefully give it a refresh anyway. Then we can kind of table the new logo for a minute.
And one thing that we can do is if you wanted to have just a general banner with your current logo or a placeholder logo, we can just update the banner when you update your style guide.
Wonderful.
great. I had a question about the hosting and support. So the hosting, that seems like a pretty, is that for all of the data that you're storing? And is that flexible with that pricing? More so, I'm just wondering, you know, it seems pretty consistent. I've usually seen, you know, hosting is based on like how much data you're using, not necessarily like this is just a set price. Or is it also because the support is in that as well?
So it is everything. It's all support, the ongoing training, the updates. It's more than just the hosting, but there is no limit to data management or users that you want to, how many city staff, there's unlimited users, pages, content, file uploads, everything. That's all part of the service level agreement.
And then back to your previous demonstration on the main website where there was that directory within the city, it went through like events, all those things. Is that the business directory that's under the optional enhancements? Is that an additional?
The business, so the optional enhancements are some things that we elected to break out. Not every municipality would need these things or necessarily wants these things. For example, a lot of our customers are part of major metro areas. They don't have a lot of parks and trails. They don't need to be paying for a base feature of a parks directory. If they want it though, that's relatively affordable to turn on. But this would be specifically the business directory is a searchable category. I do have an example of that, where you can map all businesses within a geographical region where it's filterable by specific category. You can have internal pages for all the individual businesses.
The text message opt-in, was that?
That's something I asked.
Yeah, we explained just a little bit about,
So the
the why.
text options,
yeah.
so some people would prefer to get a text than the email. So it's a notification, ping, flood warning, city council tonight, if they're, you know, and they're that
Opt-in.
group. City council tomorrow or tonight, planning commission, and they'd get the text instead of an email, right, Gordon?
That is correct. There is an additional add-on cost to turn on the ability to do text messaging, but all of our customers that will have that notification center that I sent, emails included, text messaging does cost a bit extra to turn on, but that's exactly correct.
But that's an option I asked for,
Okay.
because I thought it would be very helpful.
Okay.
Jordan, I have a question. I'm online with you. I don't have a picture there.
No, hi.
Hi, I'm the city treasurer. I have a question on the Civic Plus Pay. Through our current website, we already have what's called advanced access. The name is changing.
Okay.
Which is provided basically free for municipalities. So is that not something that we can bring to our new website, or do we have to?
No,
for
100%
customers
you
to
can
be
bring
able to
that.
Pay?
No, 100%. You can, anything that you're currently doing that's like a third-party link out, we can link that out via iframe or just a direct link. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess one question I did have about the Civic Plus Pay is if eventually when we do civil penalties or those things and having that so people could pay online, would this be a better system to have for people to pay and for us to keep track to follow up on those items?
It could potentially, but in a lot of cases, if you're already using a third-party pay system and it works for you, feel free to continue to do that. You're not required to use this at all. Specifically, what this is it allows you to turn the forms that I'm showing you into paid forms. So we have had customers that take some of these forms to be things like inspection or licensing or anything like that. This would allow those forms to be paid forms. It's an option that's available if you want to use it, but you're not required to at all.
This could be a step in that direction someday, but right now, speaking with the Marshal's Department, it's the actual enforcement and then the ability for a customer to at least have an appeal with it. So we need to set up some sort of board of appeals and allow them to, bring forth their, why they think they don't deserve to be fined for having whatever reason they were ticketed for. So I think that's something we'll talk about later. As soon as we get that, a better way to enforce, a better way to make sure that there is a appeals process, and then we can discuss collections.
I have a question for Shelley. I recall previous to all this, we did approve a potential website update and it just never came forward. Shelley or Mayor, do you recall if that was included in the budget that we approved?
I believe it was. Shelley,
Not off the top of my head. I don't recall. Do you remember kind of how much that was at all, Christina?
I was trying to go back and look today. I know it was before April that we approved it, and it was something that Miriam had brought to us. And say it again.
I feel like it was like $5,000.
I think it was around $5,000. My question just is, was it in the budget? And if so, it looks like we're within what we potentially had already budgeted going into this year, so that's kind of the question.
I'm pretty sure it was budgeted, and I think that amount is right, and also, it's on par from what we're already paying, and so, I mean, this is gonna be a little more on the annual, but it's like what we're gaining on it, I think it's well worth the increases, so.
And did this breakdown, account for the 10% discount that I believe that I saw on the breakdown, on the description, Shelley?
Oh,
No.
hold on
Oh,
a second.
sorry, or,
The 10% discount is if, because on there I talked about
sorry, that was you,
codification.
yeah,
So if you went with the codification and that, because community code is embedded with
Okay.
Civic Plus, and they allow for a self-publishing. So I could go in, pull out like the old ordinance, what we want to amend, and create an ordinance within that codification code software. And then when you adopt it, you can actually, I don't know if you would like this, when you pass it, you mark proof, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, and if it passed, you email it to the mayor electronically signs it, he pushes it back to me, I sign it and seal it, and it's well, first you gotta do the publication, and then, sorry, first you gotta do the publication, no, I know this, I'm just saying, no, you do your publication, and then it can be, I would automatically update it to our codification, we wouldn't have to wait to mail it off, wait for stuff to come back.
And then
you
hit
don't
us
need
with
books.
shipping charges.
No, and no shipping.
okay.
And this
That
is,
makes
this is the
sense.
code system I have used also before, and it
Okay.
is wonderful.
So with that codification, kind of that breakdown I saw, there is a bit of a break,
Yes,
a 10% break,
so
okay,
that's, I was just showing that you could get it if you did multiple.
I see,
And they
Thank
have
you.
an agenda and meeting module, but I'd rather do the codification because I think it'd be very beneficial. And it's just not the book for ordinances, you can do books for resolutions, you can do a book for what your fees are. And then you can manually go in and update those, you can upload exhibits, like when the code says, see exhibit A, they call you and say, okay, I need exhibit A. Oh, okay, and then I'm searching, well, you have that capability, you upload the sign ordinance, you upload everything that goes with it, and that person can click on it and say, oh, there's the ordinance they approved, there's the mayor's signature.
so it's a internal efficiency is what I'm hearing.
Well, you
And
can
then-
do, yeah,
And then efficiency in communication outwardly to our constituents. Great.
so you can do self-publishing or them all hands-on. I don't want them touching it, I wanna do it, I wanna make sure it moves forward
Yeah,
and everything's attached that I want attached, so people, not that they're not calling me and I can't find it, but it's right there.
Yeah.
They can
This is
print
an
it and it
example of
prints.
one of our customers using our self-publishing software.
So yeah, you can, and the books are additional. The ordinance book is just the one, but your resolutions is great to have in there. I worked for a city that had an airport. We had an airport book. The fees is wonderful. You know, people go there, oh, how much is this gonna cost? Oh, okay.
yeah, clarification of the fees, which then could, in essence, tie back to a form.
Mhm.
Okay,
Gives you more time back as well.
yeah.
Not having to answer all
So
those
I don't
questions.
have,
I got a question on, so like, I'm the fire chief. And like my tab, you mentioned that you just click a button and it switches over to Spanish. So it does the whole website, so we don't have to put English and Spanish forms on there and.
So forms will not translate because they're a set PDF, but anything that's
Okay.
HTML, anything that's HTML, so essentially the words on the actual HTML website pages are able to be integrated with Google Translate. So we can switch to those languages, but it won't change. For example, images or static PDF forms won't automatically translate.
but we could have dual forms, correct? Like we could have an English form and a Spanish form.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I guess not so much a question as just a concern. I really want to make sure that we have money to do this. It's much needed. It's, I mean, crazy how we've gotten along without something like this long. But I just you know, I think we've had some unforeseen expenses come up recently, and I just want to make sure that we're okay.
Every day's an unforeseen expense. in this family. I think, Shelley, how do you feel about the funds for this?
I think we can figure it out because one, I'm in the process of preparing budget amendments. And I think for what this is and what it does for us, I think we should go ahead and move forward. I mean, although I can double check the whole budget thing if you want me to tomorrow, just to make sure. I'm sorry, I'm not in the office today, so I was not aware of that I needed to check that. So but I'm happy to do tomorrow, but I think we can figure out where it's going to come from.
It seems like it hits a lot of different departments.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what I'm hearing from Shelley is there's a way.
If there's a will, there's a way.
And I remember when we talked about it before, I just can't remember.
I remember.
We definitely
And-
approved.
well, yeah, and we're paying for something.
Yeah.
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 What you're
There's
saying,
money
Chief,
earmarked
sorry.
for this.
Yeah, for sure, I remember the discussion, I can't remember the
Increase
specifics.
Yeah,
in this year's budget and in the budget process.
I do recall all of that. So this isn't, I mean, I actually think it's a blessing that we waited because what we're seeing right now is far superior to
Oh,
what
yeah.
we were presented before.
Yeah.
So thank you for Michelle bringing this to us at this time.
And I don't know if you caught, but each department, so like, so I'm the clerk, so, or whoever's your overall admin can get to all of it.
Mhm.
So then you have like, Maria, she's over the utility billing. She would have access only under that section.
Nice.
Shelley could have access under her treasurer's reports or not that section.
Mhm.
The fire department could have their own section to post what they want, what they feel they need. Street, I mean, everybody has their piece,
Yeah.
but not access to the entire piece.
Which is good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that's great, because then not one person, oh, I need you to post this, oh, I need you to post that, will you post
Really
this?
nice looking websites. as
Yeah.
well.
Great.
Well, I'd like to put a motion forward to, guess, approve moving forward with,
It says it's not a.
oh,
Well, I mean, it as an action item, though,
she did have it as an action item.
all right, here, just in case you wanted to.
Oh,
Can you do that?
I get it, okay.
Oh, no, I was prepared for you.
Listen.
yeah, I mean,
Perfect, go for it.
yeah, I'd like to,
Do what you know.
I'm gonna put a motion forward, to move to approve working with Civic Plus on a municipal website. Hope that's enough.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Second.
So I have a quick question, do you want the text or no, because that is the only extra I asked for. Is that what, $5.50, Jordan, right?
That is correct, but that's also qualifies for the 10% discount that you would be getting in addition.
And can that be added? Is that something we needed to decide on up front? Is that something that could be added later? Like, how does, if that's a yearly fee, so is your recommendation to, you know, put that in at the beginning so that we're then getting the full use of the service, or do you have
I
a
would-
response?
Because that you can also get the discount, the ongoing discount off of it. If it's something that you know you're going to want, I'd recommend doing it up front, but it is something that you could add later.
Anyone opposed?
And I would recommend it, just if we've seen in the past, especially last winter, the winter before, when we had our water,
Exactly.
we had to put out that
The
boil.
oil notice.
And we had to go door to door
Yeah.
at midnight with everybody. So this is a way we can get, at least reach more people. And there are other ways throughout the county, but
For what the price point is, I think, it'd be a useful tool.
And then I would
Reverse
move,
911 sort of scenario.
I would move to approve, working with Civic Plus on the municipal website as bid,
Second.
including the text message, yeah.
Sorry. Hey, Jordan, didn't you say you're gonna take like 5 years back on our current website and bring it forward to the new, or am I misunderstanding?
That is correct. We will we will take content, all content on your existing site, move it over, so you're not gonna take any staff time to get existing content. Any applicable content that exists on your website that you want to go forward, will.
Roll call, please.
That's a good question.
Councilmember Leahy,
Yes.
Councilmember Ovina,
Yes.
Councilmember Shay,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yep.
President Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Pereira.
Yes.
All right,
I
thank
think
you,
it'll make
everyone.
your job
Thank you,
easier.
Jordan.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jordan.
We look forward to
All right.
working with you.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to earning, thank you very much. Have a great night.
All right. So moving on to item 6, new business, consideration and approval of resolution 2370, a resolution of the city of Idaho authorizing the mayor to execute a professional service agreement for on-call planning services with Great West Engineering. So we know that we're short on staff right now, especially in our planning and development department. We are starting to see more building applications, a few things coming in. We have been working with a local firm, but we're getting a lot more stuff. And then just to avoid some of the potential conflicts, I've reached out and I've asked, we actually put out a request for services, and Great West did reply, and I thought they put together a pretty good package. Do you have anything, Andrew, you want to add?
Not really, just our planning department weren't able to make it. They're the ones that answer all the real hard questions when it comes to planning, so. We are here to help, basically whatever the city has needs for. We have a pretty wide span of services. So I know some of the city council members and city staffs reached out with questions. We're really just here to help the city move forward with everything you have on your plate right now.
I guess the question I have is, how much are we paying for an hourly rate? And I noticed that the contract goes for 2 years.
So the contract was set up, at least the draft that's there, is to align with what was in the request for proposals. So the request for proposals said it was a 2-year period. We added language, which we do on most of our contracts, is 2 years, and the city can choose to extend it if you want. One thing I will bring up with any professional services contract, at any time if the city's unhappy, you can choose to terminate the services. So we don't put hourly rates in. What we generally do would be a task. So there is a form in there that is task driven. So the example would be the city wants to do a new comprehensive plan. We would put together a scope, a schedule, a budget, and say for this document, it would be, X number of dollars not to exceed. And we would attach our current hourly bill rates. For planning services, like what you guys are dealing with right now, with a lot of random questions, with reviewing like annexation agreements or lot line adjustments, we could just have a task order essentially that's on-call planning services with those type of reviews at an hourly rate, and we would give you our bill rates. Our bill rates really range depending on who's working on it throughout the company. So it's hard to say it's an hourly rate of X. It really depends on what level of service you need. So if it's simple GIS work, it's like $120 an hour. If it's a senior manager, it's around 200. Our senior planners are around 150 an hour. So it just really depends on what the exact task is, where that would fall. But I can send you guys those hourly bill rates, so you can see what they are.
This is primarily to have you as on-call planning services, and then as we get into whatever projects, it's gonna be task orders where we'll see how much it's gonna cost us to have you do this service, correct?
Correct. This is our assumption, at least as of right now. It's quite literally just helping with some of the day-to-day, like what the next item is looking at that amendment for Strayhorns, reviewing that and answering any questions the city may have and providing guidance. The other one was we did help review the mountain rides application. So we did do that. Just you guys were kind of in a bad spot. So it was sent over. I reviewed it and provided some suggestions, went through city code. Those are the type of things we're anticipating right now, is just making sure city codes are followed. And with the current city codes and ordinances, there are some tasks that have to be signed off on by an engineer or the city engineer or city planner based on your ordinances, and we're trying to just fulfill those as needed.
Is the pricing of Great West Engineering comparable to the current services we're receiving?
That's a loaded question.
Sorry,
No,
but that's
I mean,
the only way I could.
Shelley would probably be able to answer
Okay.
what we're paying Dave, by the hour.
Okay, that would be my question, because I did notice that there weren't prices, and I understand the why the price scale wasn't included in this. But I would just be curious what the hourly of our current services are compared to the new engineering company.
Christina,
Yes.
the services we're currently getting, again, it varies depending on who did what on it. So just like Andrew was saying, it varies depending on the person who was working on it.
And so, for example, I mean, we could be paying Rick to review something, and we could be paying an engineer to be reviewing something when it sounds like these guys are kind of a one-stop shop, as I understand it. And just as an FYI, I contacted the mayor this afternoon and asked him if I could reach out to Andrew to try and get some clarification on some of these Strayhorn issues. The late email from Michelle, not her fault, absolutely not. No, but there was a lot of information to try and digest.
Yes.
There, so I had a really good conversation with Andrew. I'm, very comfortable with this kind of proposal. From a planning perspective, we need to fill that hole.
I'm in complete agreement with filling that hole. That question only comes from, and I trust your direction on this one, but past experiences with, billing issues. So just kind of looking at how we're moving forward responsibly, when we're working with new firms.
I get that we put out the RFQ for this, and they're the only ones that replied to it. I got a reply from Dave Patry a week after the suspension, or after it ended for proposals. And since we already have a contract for on-call services for him, I said, well, I don't really think that you need to reapply. We already have a contract with you.
Yeah.
This actually gives us a second opportunity for more focused work, maybe, and it branches out more than just what David and his crew can do. And so without, my intent is still to try to find the hires for these positions, but given the current wages, given the current housing prices,
They're not out there.
seeing what the county has gone through trying to hire a planner, we're not there, and I don't think we're gonna be there for a little while. And so this gets us through, it keeps us moving forward, and keeps the people that are, the things that we didn't like with the residential overlay district, not having a good representation on what that actually means for code and for the different districts and the different parts of the city, having their team on board to explain it to P&Z better instead of what we got from the previous firm, so.
And I think, we're in this transitional period again, that having a group like Great West Engineering on will also instill confidence in the developers we're working with and people we're working with down the line. So, and help our staff internally as well.
Yeah,
So.
and our Planning and Zoning Commission, I've had several phone calls from members after the last P&Z meeting, and they're really struggling without someone to lead them through this process, and understanding that we overspent on this last ordinance or proposal for the high residential on Main Street. Yeah, I think I think they would be a great asset for them to lead them through this. Because they're lost right now and, you know, frankly, I think their biggest concern, am I breaking any rules by talking about this? Okay, is that, well, I just want to make sure, is that, you know.
Stopped you by now.
Is that they're gonna get the leadership that they need. And that will give them the confidence to move forward, because their biggest fear at this point is making a bad recommendation that's forever gonna impact how Main Street functions.
Yeah.
You know, also understanding that we are gonna be the final decision makers on what goes in the ordinance and what doesn't. But, you know, I just really think that this would be very, very helpful for them.
So if you guys want, I can share my screen and show you our bill rates, but I can also email it to you guys so you can see basically what our bill rates are, and that would align with any scope of work we do. So, I mean, if that helps, I can share that information.
You want to see it or not?
At this moment, I'm okay at this moment. I feel
like.
like you gave me a good enough
I think we're
verbal
good, Andrew.
scope, yeah. Emailed would be great.
You just want me to send that to Michelle, Shelley, which email? All of the above?
All the above, please.
Okay.
Any additional questions for Andrew?
How do, somebody brings in an application, how's that going to be processed? Are there, do we send it to Great West or they go through some intermediary?
No, we'll receive it, we'll stamp it, and then we'll forward it to, whichever planning team that we feel is the best, for that project, I would think. I mean, I still plan, there's still gonna be some stuff coming through that we may use, benchmark, because, but I just, again, there's other times that, this Great West would be a better fit for us, so we'll evaluate it, what projects come in, and then Michelle will send it to, the appropriate firm.
I'll put a motion on the table. I move to approve resolution 2370, a resolution of the city of Bellevue, Idaho, authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement for on-call planning services with Great West Engineering.
Second.
Member Shea?
Aye.
Member Mahoney?
Yep.
Member Ogonoff?
Yes.
Member Leahy?
Yes.
Member Carrero?
Yes.
President Giordani?
Yes.
All right, thank you. On to item C. Strayhorn subdivision phase 2, consideration of discussion regarding a third amendment to the Strayhorn Plan Unit Development Agreement executed on December 19th, 2019, as it pertains to ordinance 2009-04, Exhibit 1, annexation agreement between the city of Bellevue and Strayhorn Partners LLC, Jeff Halfley, Strayhorn. Who wants to start?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Hi, Jeff Papley. This is really good stuff that you guys have talked about tonight. I mean, as a developer and someone who's investing a lot of money in your city and trying to, you know, help things move along, this is transformative. This is really good. So, having said that, one of the reasons I'm here tonight, and there's a couple things I would like to be able to have a discussion about. I think it's all appropriate, you know, at the council level. When it is not, then, you know, tell me where to go. But obviously the pathway at the moment for developers or anyone is a little bit vague. So I want to be very efficient in everyone's time and efforts. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was in the first and second phase, part of the approval was that after a certain amount of lots were sold, that we would enter into discussions with the city about the park. And the park actually sits within the third phase. Well, realistically, going through this process and then, Idaho Power and water and sewer issues and the fact there's no plat for the third phase, it's an impossibility to even do a park. And realistically, if we just went back to the original annexation agreement, that park was planned for third phase anyway. So, the question is, it seems appropriate that we modify the conditions of the plat, just in case, I'm not around anymore, getting kind of old. But, get things a little clearer so that if somebody or the people in the city change, we know kind of where we're going and we know where the path is and kind of what the city wants to do and what their plans are, because things do change. So basically, we're asking to amend that one condition that it be removed, because it really doesn't make any difference how many lots we sell. We cannot get into the process to do a park there. And there's also some situations around the BLM property that if we're working in that area and with the excavation, without knowing really what that is going, how that's going to play, it's really an impossibility. So my time's up. So anyway, that was the first thing. So, I think we could maybe talk about whether or not that's something that we could just put down the road to the third or fourth phases.
Jeff, just a question for clarification. So you're not asking for relief from doing the park altogether. You just are asking for relief on the timing of
Correct.
when you develop that.
Correct.
So that will always be on the table.
That's always on the table, unless for some reason there comes a point in time where the city's desires or needs are different and the park takes a different character. But it's not anything that needs to be talked about at the moment. What we really need to do is just recognize the fact that it's an impossibility to even do it without the infrastructure or the third phase platted and approved.
Yeah. And also, considering what the BCRD is looking at, I mean, do we need ball fields up there and soccer fields up there, or is there another avenue that we could approach that might actually help the recreation activities or expand there? I mean, it's a little far out to put pickleball courts there, so.
Yeah.
Well, they would.
It ricochets a little too
like
much in
machine
that,
guns.
yeah.
But,
I think that development would
But I mean, I
be
think
very
we
mad
have
at
a
us.
very robust soccer league.
Right.
And that ball field is used every night during the summer, so.
No, we know there's a
Yeah,
need for it.
absolutely.
We know there's a need throughout the valley, but as of right now, until we get the infrastructure laid in, and he has the ability to actually, we can assess what do we want here now? Is it parks? Is it ball fields?
Is it
whatever?
water?
Is it
I mean, I think we've got a lot of balls in the air right now.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
Well, isn't it in the avalanche plain as well? So it's thinking about what can withstand that.
Right.
It's in the avalanche,
Right, well, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have any effect in terms of summer usage, but.
right? Just thinking about the breakdown from winters and just thinking.
I mean, as long as we're not setting up a coliseum where it's gonna take down the walls, it's gonna be an open park of some kind, whether it's a, dog park / frisbee golf course, or if it's it could be anything in 5 years. I think we know we have it there available to us. I think we let Jeff and his team move through with their development and get it to a point where we can actually discuss it and they can support it. Because right now, there's nothing they can do. They can't build anything out there. I mean, we can go excavate all we want, but what are we gonna do with it? Just have a bunch of dirt that says this is a field now? It makes it a smoother transition when we get to phase 3 or potentially 4. Like you said, it's not going off the table, it's gonna be there. And we can actually plan for it, make sure it's the right thing for that time period.
Do you have, Jeff, do you have a timeline of phase 3 or phase 3 and 4, kind of what you're thinking?
Well, sure, a little further down in my been here.
Okay,
But to answer your question, well, I've talked to the other developers. I mean, nobody's annexed yet, and I know how optimism and timeframes sort of get further and further out. I mean, realistically, for single residential development, home development, not multifamily, you will probably not see that for 4 or 5 summers or longer. So that being the case, I feel that it's appropriate and necessary for me to keep moving the single family residential lot development forward. And I actually do have a pretty good plan for those next 2 phases already that, you know, I could be here in the summer for all I know, or the fall to start working forward on that. But I need to get this, you know, resolved before I really went ahead and tried to figure out how I'm going to go about these different phases. And also, hopefully, there'll be some more discussions with your 61-acre parcel and figure out exactly what you want to do there, because that will probably influence the timing of some of the, or could influence the timing of some of the things that I do. So the main point of tonight is to hopefully have a little discussion of a few things that you're comfortable in talking about, and otherwise give me direction to where I need to go. So yeah, I'd like to get moving forward with this next phase, maybe by following summer. Let's put it that way. Then the other thing that I wanted to ask about, because it's the bond monies that are being held and how they get released. And I need to understand, is this something that needs to come to you guys to get the release, or is it something that simply be, you know, benchmark and say, you know, here's the invoice, it's been completed, take it to the clerk or whatever, and get the money released so that we can actually pay our bills to the people that have done the work, because our money is sitting in your checking account.
Yeah.
So do you have to bring this back to the council to have these kinds of releases, or can you say it's okay?
No, I think we got to show something that you completed what you were bonded for, and then we release that.
Okay, and what would the show be?
Something from our city engineer.
yeah, some kind of a checklist
Okay.
of the items.
Email from Phoebe, she says there's 2 things that need to be taken.
Oh,
out
yeah,
or signed. Oh, okay, that's what she's holding your bond money for.
Yeah, and that's sort of, I mean, that's like no money anyway, but at any rate, I just wanted to understand that process. Okay, so that leads me to another question. In that bond, and actually we didn't realize it until we were doing the bond, are 2 streetlights that we have not ordered. And actually, when we realized, we thought we had not put them in these short sections, that we had the main streetlight that was at the cross section of Strayhorn and, I mean, Slaughterhouse Road and Sunrise, and, you know, where there's actually a cross section. And to the point of, in the first phase, there was a light that was gonna go at the old dirt Slaughterhouse Road. And the determination was that the city really didn't want all these lights for these very minimal events, and it just basically conflicted with the dark sky desires. So what I would like you guys to talk about or consider is, do you really want these 2 bulbs sitting out there operating all day, you know, all night, which ultimately, you know, will lead out further and further and further in the canyon? Are they necessary? Do they do anything significant? That's not a cross. It's not a crossing of 2 roads, and they really service only a few lots, and most likely all the traffic will come in on Rosewood anyway.
And for what's up there right now, the one at Cowcatcher Loop and that Sunrise.
Yeah.
You know, that one's bright. I mean, I don't see how it meets the dark sky ordinance as it is. But it
Because that's right there at the stop sign. It is high traffic. There's a lot of walkers and people, you got a lot of construction flying through there. So I think at the intersections where it provides some safety, in cross streets, they are warranted, but to keep up with the dark sky, to keep up with, everybody has their, porch lights on. There's plenty of light out there. So
I would also like to make sure that the engineering firm is comfortable with us, you know, having less lighting or more lighting. I mean, I think that, you know, they're the
if
experts.
they
that
can
would
say
be able-
that there's a safety issue and they recommend that they have them, we don't disagree. But if it's just to have 2 more lights out there, to have light out there, I
Absolutely.
don't think we need them. And so,
And I also think this is, Jeff, that if you want relief from that, I think it's a specific agenda item we need to put up and you should put on your.
Sure. Well, I just wanted to bring it up because, you know, once again, this is, you know, we're willing to do whatever you truly want, but also, you know, I think we're all in sort of business with each other, and there's things that I would lead the city of financially that, you know, I determined or we determined really didn't make any sense. And conversely, if there's situations where, you know, we realize that maybe it wasn't a good idea or it's not necessary, I mean, absolutely 2 intersections crossing, yes, but just a single entry point, probably not. I mean, there's not even streetlights around your park at O'Donnell at 8th Street or at, so why out in the middle of the valley?
My only comment on that is like, the comment I've heard is, why would we do this now? We haven't done this in the past, but the population is growing, we have no sidewalks, and the number 1 complaint I hear from our community, I don't feel safe to let my kids walk anywhere around here because it is too dark. A solution, like, I don't know if it exists, is like, okay, why don't we have streetlights that shut off at 10 p.m.? And then it needs a dark night sky or ordinance, but the more we say,
Sure.
oh, we don't need more sidewalks, this is Idaho, or we don't need this is like, okay, but the population is growing and we're going further back in that canyon. And that means there's gonna be more traffic going up and down those roads.
Right, but in those particular locations, there's no crossing across the main connector road. It's all, you know, within the subdivision side. And the only crossing is there at that one point at which we do have a light. So, I mean, sure, you can light up everything, but you also, the city ends up paying for it and taking care of it. So, you know.
I think an example, don't you have a couple residents in yours that they just have these random light poles that were put there when the subdivisions went in?
Yeah.
You're talking about Chantrell?
Down in Chantrell, when that subdivision was developed, there was a requirement, dusting off my planning brain here, for a certain number of streetlights down there, and nobody wanted them. You know, this was obviously before the subdivision was built out, but there was a pretty big outcry, may have been in the form of a public hearing, that people were saying they did not want to see all those lights down there. And so the darkest street is the street we live on Melrose. And there aren't any streetlights there. There's one at either end.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's quite dark.
Also though, with that, I think in our HOA, we have, everybody has that light posts, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Which was a creative
Yeah.
solution.
And that was a requirement
Yeah.
of the subdivision, that everybody do their own thing in their front yard light. And, you know, it seems to work out fine.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be something that could be discussed as part of, you know, Jeff's development.
Well, I think everybody has a front porch light.
So these are actual, a post that's in the lawn. It's not
Almost on the
attached,
street
it's
side.
not attached to the house.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, once again, it's just it's sort of like use your judgment or go talk to the engineers or whatever. When we originally set this up, we decided to take those lights off of those short sections. And what happened is we only ended up taking 2 instead of 4. And so
Okay,
they haven't been ordered, so if you want them, you can have them, and if you don't,
so,
fine.
so as part of the bond, can I ask you to, get a checklist from the engineer that says we've met A through C? Have them do a risk assessment on those lights if they're valid, and if they're safety lights. And we can review item 2, next council meeting. But we can go ahead and look at item 1 with the consideration to delay the park requirement until whatever phase you guys want to review it at.
And if that is the case, I would strongly suggest that we have Jeff put together a development agreement ratifying those items so that it protects you as the developer and it protects us as the city.
Well, number 5 here is, because nobody seems to read or understand, and it's just been a long time, I am more than willing to go over all the annexation agreements and understand, have everybody understand, what the responsibilities are both for the city and for the developer. And if there's, moments today that things look different and things could be better and we're all in agreement to do it, I'm fine with modifying this. But what I really want is I want everybody to really understand what they're dealing with, instead of having situations where people make an assumption, they say something and it's totally not true. And then, it takes weeks and months and years to rebuild, what was fact and what was fiction. So, I mean, that's, to Diane's point, that's something I'd be happy to do. And I think that really speaks to you guys figuring out what you're gonna do with 61 acres, because that really impacts what I can do for you or not do for you in terms of, my infrastructure. It could be a workshop, it could be anything, but it does need to be done now, I would ask.
I'll sit that one out.
Respectively.
I've been there, done that.
What?
I'll sit that one out, Jeff.
Okay.
Well, I mean, everybody had in their packet, the annexation agreement and all of the exhibits and it's a lot. And, I would encourage if anybody wants a little bit more insight into that.
And this amendment just puts us back to the original
Yes.
annexation agreement, so.
So to the mayor's, what he said, this is only, realistically, we're dealing with 1. I'm using this opportunity to try to expand, more discussions. And, you guys are doing a lot of planning, a lot of things are gonna be happening and changing. And we all need, we owe it to each other to really communicate now and really start, creating the best results. The first result would be, number 1, just say, yes, it can't be done. Just leave it the way the annexation agreement was, which was phase 3. And then when we get to phase 3, if things want to be different, then we'll talk about it then.
So item 1 is an action item, item 2 is not an action item.
Item 1
So
is,
C,
You're referring to 1 or
yeah,
I. Yeah.
so new business C, item I, and then item II. We only need to have an action item, which can either be to make a motion, or we, table discussion until a date certain of next meeting, or whenever we can get any additional information you want. I think exhibit 1, what we're asking for, just to move the park back to the original agreement, so it's considered in phase 3 instead of right now in phase 2, is pretty plain and simple. Now, the rest of it, I think, kind of asked Mr. Pathley to provide some additional stuff so we can get him, so we can review the information, make sure that we're good with the safety of it, that it meets what we want to happen, and then it gets him an opportunity to get the bond taken care of, so he can, move forward on that side of it.
Mhm.
And that will be on next council of 23rd.
When does the lighting requirement fall under, Jeff? What,
I don't know that there is any real lighting requirement.
but what is telling you to put those lights in? What, is
You
it
know,
the-
I think it happened because
is
in
it
the
a
first
condition of
phase,
the subdivision?
well, in the first phase, we had these actual crossings, and so we ended up putting it basically at every point in the first phase. So when the engineers laid it back out, they just put lights at every point like they had, but they didn't take into consideration there was really only one true crossing. And so when we talked about it, like I said, well, take these other lights out. And they got the two out on Rosewood and not the ones up on,
I'm just asking because some things that you might want to change would require certain noticing, perhaps. We've been noticing, and I don't want to get sideways there, that's all. Is this a subdivision requirement for phase 2, those 2 lights?
I have no idea. I mean, I think it's just, it was somewhat optional when you consider in the first phase, the P and Z recommended a light at the old Slaughterhouse Road, and then the council went, why? I mean, it's not utilized, it's just gonna light things up. And so, I'm just basically going kind of along those lines, but however you guys need to do it is fine. I'm just saying it's something that we would like to have considered.
So I don't know if a motion is premature at this point. But maybe I'll throw something out there. With regard to, item 1 or item I would move to, approve, the third amendment to the annexation agreement between the city of Bellevue and Strayhorn Partners LLC, with the understanding that the developer provide us with a development agreement to execute in the future.
What would be the point of that?
I don't think I think it's.
The development
It's under the
agreement?
annexation agreement, so if
Oh,
we get rid of the park
It's hard to
requirement
hear.
in phase 2,
Yeah.
or 75% of it, it just goes back to the annexation agreement under 3.5.
So,
yeah,
Before we throw a motion, I
it's in
I was
3.5,
trying to find the 2 different ones that you're referring to.
Yes, in
And
3.5.
so-
yeah.
3.5, can just correct me if I'm wrong, but 3.5 was an amendment to the original annexation agreement, which is line item 4, is what I think I'm reading. So 3.5, was it a change to it? And what you're asking is to go back to the original and disregard 3.5.
No,
No.
it's disregarding there's a PUD agreement.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Wherein if Jeff sells a certain percentage of his lots after phase 2, then he's obligated or.
is that the
It's
75?
the
5
amendment, it's the
percentile one?
amendment to
Yeah.
the PUD agreement.
I had it
has
flipped.
nothing to do with.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the opposite, so. it
Thank
goes
you, I had
back
it flipped.
to the annexation agreement where it's has to be completed as part of phase 3.
So
And then in this case, would it just be something that would be reflected in the minutes and not an additional agreement put
Well,
together?
You don't need one because it's in the annexation
Right.
agreement, it's in the phasing of these,
Right, I just want to make sure that it's ratified somehow that we did have this discussion about either way to go with this. And I think it would be important for that to be something that we see.
Well, I think you're only modifying the PUD agreement,
Right,
period.
Okay.
So if you
yeah,
want to
we're not
eliminate.
modifying, that's a totally different thing, if we're gonna modify the annexation agreement, then
Yeah.
it's a whole other.
a whole other
So
can of
that's
worms.
number 3 and 4.
Pandora's box, I think.
And so if we get rid of that provision of the PUD agreement, Jeff's obligated phase 3 to do the park.
yes, and that's clear as day in 3.5.
Yeah, there's no,
That's
it's
what I'm
not
reading.
ambiguous, it's
Okay.
just a timing.
Okay,
Then in
I
that
think it
case,
makes
I would
sense.
withdraw my motion.
okay.
So I think it'd be just be a motion to approve the third amended PUD agreement, or something that gets rid of that condition for the park after 75% of the lots are sold.
Does anybody Have any questions or want to discuss that further? Okay. I'll let you take this one.
Feeling red.
It's okay.
So am I making this motion to approve this third amendment as part of a PUD agreement?
We're just amending, we're amending the PUD agreement. So that it doesn't contain the provision with the park requirement tied to the percentage of lots sold.
So moved.
Second.
I'll get it out, the audio.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
So we got Shay.
Shay via Allenton.
Okay, member Leahy,
Yes.
member Obanoff,
Yeah.
member Shay,
Yes.
member Mahoney,
Yep.
President Giordani,
Yes.
member Carrera.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And now,
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Or
Or next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
on the 25th, but have we given you enough guidance on what we would like you to bring?
Yeah.
Do we need to-
I'll go
so-
talk to like Jeff Lemons or Dave Petrie or something and just and then do something.
Is there anything else that the council wants clarification or brought to that discussion? The bonding requirements and potential discussion of removing the lighting.
I would like to have our engineering firm, if we're using Great West in this instance, or if Jeff Loomis is more familiar with it, or Phoebe, to just make sure that, the lighting proposed meets standards of safety.
Safety, yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have a nice evening.
Item C, consideration approval of resolution 2371, a resolution of the city of Bellevue, Idaho, authorizing the mayor to approve and execute purchase pursuant to Idaho Code 672803 for the city's imminent needs for the city's water system. Shane on, okay. So he's made a task list and it was in there, the items that we just need to have on hand. These bans are basically to fix leaks if something were to break, for emergency inventory for future repairs. We've got a few other things on there that he can go into. And then we just have the most recent issue that broke out last week. You want to go ahead, Shannon, and explain it? You want me to?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, our biggest item right now is obviously the valve to the tank that gave up the ghost and decided it is the original valve from the trying to remember the exact year, in the 80s when the last upgrade on the tank was done, basically when the tank was built. So people that have lived there can probably tell you better than I, but so that is what we're looking for right now. But the other deal is I'm asking for a much bigger amount that we're probably not going to go out and buy tomorrow. I'm going to work with Shelley to try to work on some of these other items to see when the water fund has the deals. But my goal was the replacement on the tank valve is an immediate need. Deals like such as a dewatering pump. So if we have a main leak and we need to get rid of the water out of the hole, that's kind of a big deal. Bans, repair bans, things like this. Those we're going to try to pick up as the water fund can absorb it. I just didn't want to bug you guys every 2 weeks asking you for this and this and this and this. So what I'm kind of asking for, other than the huge valve item, is basically just a budget to build up our inventory of go-to parts when we have a leak, when we have a dig, when we have something like that. So we've got actually some parts on hand. So we're not relying on A, supply chains, they're pretty tight, and B, we're not relying on whatever a contractor wants to charge for what he has on his truck. And most of these prices, I'm still negotiating them because the more we buy at the time, the better price we get. These are budget prices that are the worst case scenario. I've tried to put in pretty liberal pricing to make sure we cover our butt, but I'm hoping to get better prices than we put in. So yeah, if there's any other questions, let me know.
Sorry. So that control valve from the springs to the tank to control the pressure and transmission. Can you just layman's terms that for me just a little bit? So I understand.
It is a 12-inch valve, I think. It's an old clay style valve with a diaphragm that is ruptured. They can't really get the parts to repair it. It needs to be replaced. What we've done now, what Shane and his crew has done now is they've throttled it back, so they're able to close it to an extent to get enough back pressure to get water back to Idaho Ranch. The way it was running, it was open flow, and it was just flowing, back in Siemens Creek. And so this gives them the ability to access their water. It keeps the tank able to flow, but once we get to sprinkler time and everything else, to have full control of balancing our water inside that tank. It's our primary control. I mean, it's the main valve that brings the water into town from the spring.
Okay, vital.
Yeah, and if I can clarify a little bit, right now, the operation of the valve is just open or closed based on the tank level. And given our master facilities plan, I worked with the previous people from Mountain Water Works, and we developed a plan of better operation to ensure that the city was best utilizing their water right. So a new control structure for the existing valve / replacement is already in our master's facility plan, which just got presented and the DEQ approved. Unfortunately, this failure kind of moved up our timeline on that a little bit. Because the other deal, this valve will have some updates to it. That's one of the reasons that we're looking at replacement versus trying to fix a 40-year-old valve, is that the new valve going forward will have pressure holding. So that it is no longer just open or closed. It will maintain a certain pressure on the main line going forward so that the Idaho Ranch and people like that will have their water regardless of whether the city is accepting water or not, which is an ongoing issue. So updating this, is it a very big ticket item? Yes. Could we shave a little money off? Maybe, but we're going to spend a little extra bit, probably about $3,000 to $4,000 extra to try to carry some of these regulatory deals, such as maintaining pressures. There are minimum pressures that we're supposed to maintain within our systems and these kind of things. And so this valve really needs to be updated so that we can start keeping the proper pressures where they need to be.
I can comment on cash flow. So in terms of having the money available for this, the water fund, we would be dipping into LGIP funds for any of this. At this point in time.
Did she say we would be?
We would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how critical is that, Shelley? I mean, understanding it's critical for the city to have water, but
yeah,
what does that look like on paper?
I don't have it right in front of me. Water doesn't have as much as sewer in terms of investment. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk, but if it's got to be done, it's got to be done.
Yeah.
So this is a question to Shelley too, and I understand why Shane brought us this whole total, but is there, So he's looking for us to approve this,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily, Shane and Shelley can work on at what time we're pulling these funds.
Yeah, Andrew, one thing I'm thinking about potential for funding, you think we could pull an RD emergency equi grant for that valve?
If it's tied to the water source itself and a natural disaster. So if it's just that it wore out and you can't tie it to some natural event, you won't be able to get an equag.
For that last earthquake that just hit Boise. We felt it over here.
Well, it hit closer to you than Boise.
Right.
But I mean, if you can show that it's, and when I say show, this is being recorded, show that it caused during that time, or that event sped up the process, you could potentially tie it to an equag. Yeah.
I think that might be a little disingenuous.
No, I forgot that had to be tied to a natural.
Natural disaster, yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, I thought we already dealt with the software.
There's always more software.
There's always more software.
So this is the Neptune software for meter reading, and so it'll be part of going to our meters. So I don't know exactly how this product works, but others, it allows us to do electronic reads instead of having to manually pull up the meters, look at them digitally. We can take a couple readings throughout town and have most of them, and then maybe do a few drive-bys. So it saves us some manpower and
I
sets
really
up.
thought we already dealt with this.
I think we got new meters. Shane, do you recall? I mean, this, I agree with you. This came across us already with the software.
I think I was at a council meeting.
But
where
does it
was
tie
approved.
into a Cassell and now, but
Maybe it's
we have
Cassell.
Cassell as our billing software and it does the reads, but we need something to actually gather the reads to convert it to Cassell.
I'm just wondering if we
Yeah,
already
so,
paid money for this
so
and it
we
didn't
have,
get used.
Oh,
the city currently has a license for Cassell, which we don't have up and running. The brand of meter we have is Neptune. This is the software that they require that, right now, all we have, like the mayor said, is we either have to manually read it or we can read a single meter at a time. You have to punch in the meter data, the serial number and all this of the meter, and we can read it at one time. This is the software that was brought to the city, 5-6 years ago. At about a third of the price. But it was never actually purchased. So now things are a little more, and what this software includes is it's the actual Neptune software so that we will start loading meter reading routes. So we'll put in all the meters and the meter numbers. Then it allows you to read it. Then it will export all that data to Cassell. I'm trying to remember. Cassell is CSV, but it's a little, anyways. So part of the cost is not just the software, it's also the initial startup and this kind of thing to make sure that it works with Cassell. So Neptune has been bugging me for a while when I was bugging them that we need to start reading meters on a larger basis. And they keep begging me for the city to get Cassell up and running. So in this price is, yes, that it is also training for city staff and all this to work the software so that not only can we read meters, but we can also generate reports such as no read lists. How many meters didn't read, either whether it's a radio issue or a meter issue or something like that. As far as I know of, and as far as Neptune knows, we have addressed the Cassell side and everything. We've never actually addressed the Neptune meter side, the actual reading software. The city already owns the radios with which to read them. And I have tried to log on to the app and the portal and all this kind of stuff, but the city has never actually set up an account, actually spent the money to set up an account with Neptune to finish basically the installation. So this is just for software. The city already owns the radio receivers and all to read the meters. We've already put in the meters that are able to read off this network. So there is this fee right now that's going to let us be able to start generating reports. It's going to let us export to whether it be Cassell or however else we want to start billing meters out every month. But the big deal for me is the reports that tell me which meters are reading, which ones aren't, which ones potentially have a leak, which ones are using abnormal uses of water, that kind of stuff. So there's also some software training with this, and the dollar amount is more than is going to be going forward because we do have some onboarding. There will be a product specialist that shows up to make sure that we're actually getting what we're paying for as far as reading, and we'll be setting up, since we do not have Cassell working at this time, they will be setting up what we have in mind for Cassell. And I have negotiated that they will, with this price, come back once we have Cassell running and work with us to get it up and going with Cassell.
We have a
What's our
timeline? I was just
timeline
gonna
on
ask.
So as soon as we go ahead with this and they receive their payments, we are talking about the availability of their product specialist who just moved to Twin from Arizona or whatever. We're talking about being able to read meters within about 2 weeks.
Well, that's encouraging.
I think the group question also is, what, do we have a timeline for getting Cassell up and running?
Yeah.
And then who sets up the software? There's someone that comes out, but who are you doing that, Shane? Or there's someone that comes out and helps set up the software, but
From Cassell?
no, from
So
Neptune.
as-
No, from Neptune.
So as far as as far as Neptune, somebody from Neptune will show up. We will be setting it up on a city computer, whether it be a laptop or something like that. I am not going to own any of this. I am familiar with the software. It's what's used in many different places, but no, the city is it's probably going to be put on either a city laptop or something like this. And we will read it using city servers, city everything. All this will be in the hands of the city once we get this up and running.
So who will be in charge of that, Maria, then? She does billing, just kind of wondering how.
It'll migrate. I mean, she'll be the one that does primary Cassell. I mean,
Okay.
Michelle does have some background with it. She's used it before. Maria, it's replacing a lot of the individual data entry that she has to do now.
Okay.
And so it's probably gonna be a little bit more streamlined. Everything gets read in, scanned in, adjust, and she may still have to do some adjustments on the cycles and stuff. And this is gonna take, typically we try to put in a meter read, so they're getting a winter read, and so they know what they're not paying for. They know what they're paying for at their household use, not necessarily their landscaping use. And then you hit April, when they start irrigation, you start billing them, and they'll see that go up, and then they can start adjusting. Do they have leaks in their toilets? Do they have, what's the first problem in their house? Then can they reduce the amount of irrigation they're doing in their yard? So it gets it onto a budgeted rate. This is one of the biggest questions that people have been asking me about the bond is, the city put in meters 15 years ago. When are you guys gonna turn it on? And I wanna get it turned on this summer. I want it up and running so we can start developing the routes. We can start fixing any of these meters that aren't working, aren't reading properly. We go into the winter and we get our reads, we understand, we start telling people, this is what your monthly bill is looking like, this is what your month's looking like. All right, we're going live. And then if they increase, they increase. Not only will people get a better usage for the water, amount of water they're actually using, we're gonna be able to use this to help identify leaks throughout town. And that will in turn help some of the pressure issues we have around town. So these just all build on top of one on another into our whole water project.
I think this helps with I just think it helps with a reoccurring theme that I'm hearing about fairness. And I think that, you know, a lot of people see water usage as not equal. And so allowing us to bill people for what they're actually using.
Yes, yes. Sure.
Will be a big deal for our community.
Yeah.
Can we clarify that these meters will be read with Neptune software? The data will be able to be exported, but until we have Cassell, we're still doing manual entries or manual billing. Is that what I'm understanding? And then once we have Cassell, it'll take a little bit of, hopefully a lot of that manual entry away from Maria.
Right.
Okay.
And what was our timeline for the situation?
Shane, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was given was that basically as soon as they receive a check, it's just they set us up an account and then I'll log into it and we're pretty much ready to go. It's under the schedule of the product specialist to come out, look at the actual equipment we have, make sure that it's working properly and we're reading properly. Because one of the big deals now is there is a list of meters that we are reading every month. Somebody is going out and reading those manually, writing them down on a piece of paper, handing that off to somebody else that then has to data entry that. And so even those meters, until we get Cassell up and running, we will be able to, one of the things that we can export to out of the Neptune software is now all of our meter readings come out as an Excel document until we're ready to actually export to Cassell. So it just takes, it's going to save a lot of time on the data entry side when all of a sudden you just have a workable data system that you can either copy or paste or power query over or whatever you want to do. So, but yeah, this has been something that the Neptune people have been pushing the city for a while for. I tried to kick the can down a little ways till we could get Cassell up and running, but at this point, we're down to kind of a scheduling deal. If we want to get this up and running, get our no read lists, get started. The other deal is if we have no reads, we have the inventory of meters and stuff to update them. So if we do read meters, we have a huge no read list. That is the one thing that the city does have an absolutely ridiculous inventory on is the meters and stuff to read that. So we should be able to address meter no reads and these kind of things without. So if we start reading meters, we get a lot of no reads, then I shouldn't have to come back to you with a huge bill for meter parts at this point because we do have a huge inventory of meters for some reason. But yes, we are looking at probably 2 to 3 weeks to actually get the Neptune side of things up and running and ready to go, depending on the scheduling availability of their product specialist.
Hey, Shelley, are you there?
I am.
And you remember we had a conversation a little while ago that you were going to look into Cassell. Have you started to look into that and wrap your head around how long that will take to implement?
I'm ready to reach out to them and say, okay, what do we need to do to get going here? Because we did pay them a lot of money and nothing has been done. I'm hoping the response will be positive and that they won't say, oh, well, it's been so long. We need to start over. And I hope that doesn't mean financially too. So I can reach out to them this week and yeah, and initiate that process.
Awesome. Can you let us know what you find out? Can you let me know if you get a hold of?
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions? You guys want to?
It's a little frustrating. That's not solving the problem, but it's a little frustrating that once again, we're here where, oh, well, we got these things, or this thing was done and it wasn't purchased, or it wasn't activated, and here we are, once again, at this table, this group of people with large funding requests that, you know, have inflation to consider and all
Well, and
that, and I understand, and thank you, Shane, for your very thorough presentation, and just processing a little frustration at this moment as we're trying to, you know, continue to move the city forward in a positive direction. And I think what's really important is, you know, the amount of feedback we're getting in question of why, and I hope whoever hears this hears the why. You know, we have meters, but we don't have the software to read the meters. We have the software, but we don't have the software implemented because it was never implemented, but it was paid for. So I think we're here together trying to move all this forward, but you know, sometimes the why is because the can got kicked down the road, and once again, we're here trying to stop it from getting kicked down any further, so.
And if we, I mean, do you recall if this council signed any kind of contract with Casell?
I've been told since I've been here that we've signed with Casell, we can't get out of it, we can't switch over, and everybody else in the valley uses Casell, so we're
Right.
sticking with them. There's other systems I would probably consider over Casell that I think have more functionality that can reach into code enforcement and other things, but I think we are, from what I've been told, we are stuck with Casell. We've already paid it down. We now just need to call them up, set up training dates, bring it online and go live.
And so to that end,
Yes, there's gonna be more money to Casell, I'm
that's,
sure.
thank you.
I won't even second guess. Go ahead, Shelley.
We paid them $28,000, so we should probably move forward with them.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they were here for the better part of a week in council chambers 3 or 4 years ago, doing Casell training with our clerk staff. And you know, Maria and who's the other one back there? Marcy. Call them the 3 M's. Are familiar with it. They sat in on those trainings.
So I was told those never happened yet, and so if we can bring in a refresher course, I think the biggest cost we were looking at before was sending our staff down to Salt Lake to do it, or bringing up the one trainer. And if she is now based out of Twin, it can be
even better.
We can actually bring her up if she has to.
Yeah.
Heck, we can put her in the cabin for a few days, get some use out of that.
You're gonna have to furnish that thing next.
I have a lot of furniture. I'll furnish it.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out what all of our options are there with them in this training and getting us going, so. And get us on a timeline.
There was a training. I know that for a fact.
I mean,
We need water.
we need water. I mean, the valve, I have no questions about the valve. I understand the need for the software. It looks like the analyzer are for compliance, which again is needed. You explained the pump, you explained everything else. Shane did a great job explaining this. And now it's just up to us to decide. Sounds like Shelley has a plan.
I mean, I would say, can we hold off on the inventory for emergency repairs to cut costs? I know it's not a lot, but.
Well, I think Shane said that, you know, we need the big ticket item first. We need to get the valve up and running, and then we'll look at the best price and the best cost, and if buying you know, 5 at a time is cheaper than, and we can afford it right now, versus, you know, if we bought 25, you know, what's the price difference if we get a discount on it? We're gonna come up with the best plan that we can. If we end up having only
2 of each of those bands, so at least we have one on the shelves that we can work with. That's great. I mean, there's so many things that we do not have spare parts for. The last, on Main Street, when that one broke back right before, Labor Day, we had to run up to Ketchum and borrow parts, and then we're installing them, and then we have to order them and then reimburse Ketchum. And so, you know, it's one thing that just delays it, and that has people sitting out of sight collecting hours for no reason. So if we have the parts on shelf, it'll increase our response time, it'll reduce our cost for fixes. But like Shane said, we don't need every part right now. We need those 2 big items, and then we'll budget, and we'll look at, as we do our budget amendments, to put it then in place. But I do agree with Shane, when we pass some of these budgets, we shouldn't have to have our public works or our people come back in asking for the money they already budgeted. It should be able to go back to, we work with Shelley, we find the line item, and then you guys just review it on the consent agenda.
That's basically how this is
That's
happening, right?
that's what I'm understanding. So it sounds like Shane's just asking us to approve all this, so he's not coming back to us week after week after week, and, you know, leaving it to his professional opinion and Shelley's to find the best price and the best source of money to attack all these things. So.
Okay, everybody. Yeah. If no one else is gonna do this, I'll move to approve resolution 2371, a resolution of the city of Bellevue, Idaho, authorizing the mayor to approve and execute purchases pursuant to Idaho Code 672803 for the city's imminent needs for the water system.
Second.
Does it make any sense? We know where we want to go with the water system as far as the meters and stuff. Is to come up with a plan of where we want to go, when we want to be there, and then have some kind of, we want to be here by this date, and so you guys can track the progress of the.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be coming out as we do with the bond and the facility plan and everything. There's gonna be a timeline and execution. I mean, like with this right now, we can say, Shane, we're gonna pay for he'll have this new software updated in say a month. And then we can start at least taking that data, making it to an Excel spreadsheet until we get Cassell up and running. And then we don't necessarily have to wait all winter to have to read to get everybody up on a meter grade. We can give them, you know, this is how much water you're using, and you can start looking at your own leaks. It's just usually a friendlier way to do it. But if everybody's ready to jump on board meters, we can have them ready to go by the end of September. There's no reason we can't.
Well,
get
I
that.
think our citizens are clamoring for that. I know they are.
And I'm flexible either way. I mean, I want to get them on the ground. I want to be on a meter grade. I want to use what me and my wife use versus the family of, you know.
27.
I
whatever.
agree. Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of people that have already gone to xeriscaping. You know, a lot of people that are doing, managing their water, using it in appropriate timelines. And, you know, I encourage people, given the economy right now, if you can grow a garden, grow a garden. But you have to understand that it comes with a cost and what water you're using too.
I also think knowledge is, I mean, some people absentmindedly might not know their water usage from a tangible standpoint, a monetary standpoint. So sometimes you don't realize how much you're using. So I think
here's your bill.
I think the education's vital, for people to make a decision of what kind of citizen they want to be with water, you know, so.
I mean, I don't have it right in front of me, but I mean, like a toilet leak alone, just a drifting toilet can be a significant water loss, and it'll show on your rates. So getting people to fix their drippy faucets, their leaky toilets, and a few things. And we have stuff we can get people in here to get dye tabs to see if you have a leaky toilet, or there are cheap methods, put a little food coloring in there in your tanks and see if it comes back into your bowl. So there's cost-effective measures we can start selling and educating conservation, and get on the meter grade so everybody pays their share. And it's probably gonna be on some sort of tiered, I don't even know how the rate structure looks on right now. It'll probably be tiered where you use up to 2,000 gallons or 5,000 gallons a month. You still pay a flat rate. Any more than that, you get bumped up to another tier and it increases. And so the people that use more water will have to pay more. But we're gonna try to keep it as cost effective as we can.
And on that note also, if I could add in just real quick, it's hard to set rates and know whether enough we're charging for enough water to cover our costs if we don't know how much, where our water's going. And I don't want to put a carrot in front of you, but you're also eligible for a lot more funding once you have a meter reading program that shows that you're actually monitoring use and that you can actually institute a water saving method and that kind of stuff. So yeah, reading meters and stuff is a lot more than just billing. There's also a lot of other stuff on the backside that goes with that, like you said.
Great information.
Yeah.
So the average leaky toilet can waste about 2,000 gallons of water a day. That's over 6,000 gallons a month, or $70 a month, just from a leaky toilet.
Wow.
And now you think about all of our water losses and our leaks and just in our delivery system. We can improve that. We can improve our distribution. We can improve our pressure, and people are paying for what they're using.
Yeah.
I think we had a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shay,
Yes.
President Giordani,
Yes.
Member Carrero,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yep.
Member Leahy,
Yes.
Member Obanoff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Hey, Sean, are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm gonna be in town for Sunday for St. Patty's Day.
That's what I'm hearing.
At the
Yeah.
restaurant?
Yeah.
I just got out of my home about 6 days ago. I'm in a private home now in Stephanie's mom's house and going from there.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, our favorite leprechaun will make an appearance.
I think we should just have
Right.
like a Santa Claus chair.
Yeah.
We'll just come sit
Yeah.
Sean. Thank you,
I
Sean.
will be there.
Yeah.
I wear my greens, don't worry.
Okay,
All right.
wonderful.
Just so you won't be serving.